Welcome to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. A look at modern and retro games with a dark sense of humor. Introducing your hosts, Steve.
Well, I'm a wreck now.
Harry.
Put it in my mouth.
Clark.
That man had one testicle and hit home runs, goddammit.
And Joe.
This went off the rails very quickly.
Let's start the show.
Welcome to Super Fun Game Review Podcast.
Go!
All right, brothers, tonight with me, Harry.
So I looked through the roster a few times. Where was Chris Benoit?
That ain't right.
Also in the room with me, Steve.
Let me tell you something, me and Clark. When you get four men together in a room with microphones, with no pants, you never know what kind of chaos is going to happen. Snap into a Slim Jim. Harry's name is Jim. Oh, yeah.
Harry's name is Jim.
Also in the room with me, Joe.
It must be all the meat sticks that he eats.
Snap into it.
And I will be your host, Clark.
Listen here, brother. Tonight we're going to be reviewing WWE2k22, brother. And I will see you in the cage match at WrestleMania.
Are you doing that with your 22-inch pythons?
My 22-inch pythons, brother. But first, a word from our sponsor.
This episode is sponsored to you by Deep Creek Glassworks.
Deep Creek Glassworks. If you're looking for marbles, are you looking for ornaments? Are you looking for wine glasses or glassworks of anything you would like? Let me tell you something. You can go to deepcreekglassworks.com. Work spelled WORX. Check out their Instagram, their Etsy, maybe even their Facebook, if that's still a thing these days. You're going to find things you like. If you see something you like not in your color, reach out to Tanner. He's going to let you know. And let me tell you something too there, Mean Gene. If you use our promo code SUPERFUN, you're going to get 10% off your first purchase, and everything shipped to you comes in crush-resistant boxes with, let me hear it, free shipping.
Not even the Hulkster can crush these boxes, brother.
He's tried. I watched him. He struggled just like his erection. So go to deepcreekglassworks.com. Works is WORX today.
Awesome. I won't be able to talk right for a week. Do I need to do the entire episode like that?
No.
Yes.
Okay, done.
you need to now. No, all right. So tonight we are getting into WWE 2k22. Let's get into the initial impressions.
So many WWEs.
WWEs.
I'll start off. I mean, wrestling games come out every fucking year. I haven't played one since probably like mid-2000s, something like that. I mean, when was Raw versus SmackDown, the very first one? I think Harry even bought that one. I didn't get it.
I think that's like 2003.
Okay, yep. So it's been a long time since then, and, you know, I kind of had an idea of what to expect from the game. I was hoping for, oh, wow, we're like 15 years after my last one. Hopefully they did good by like the mechanics and stuff. And it's the same game.
Steve's done his review.
What about you, Joe?
A little bit of the same sentiment. I played more of these games, though, I would say.
I think that might have been my fault. I played them a lot.
Yeah, you played them a lot. The last one I played was on 360. I don't think I played a lot, maybe 5 or 6 hours, probably something like that. Before that, like the last memorable one though, was I think WrestleMania on 64, Harry, or Super Nintendo maybe.
Jesus Christ!
Oh, Jesus.
Last again, memorable one.
Yeah,
where, like I actually put like a bunch of time in.
Had
Fair.
a huge roster of 8 characters.
But yeah, like I said, I picked them up every, here and there just to check them out, see what they were getting into and all that stuff. So, like I said, it's been 10 years since I picked one up, so it was interesting to kind of see where they were at.
Hat?
Cool. So, prior to this, I played Raw vs. SmackDown, I think 2006, 2007. So I was looking for like direct comparisons. So when I was booting this up, after I get hit with the onslaught of prompts to get through, I just started like doing like the comparison, like where are the different modes, where's the create a character, where's the GM mode. Actually, I dove right into the create a character as the first thing booting up this game, so I could get the roster on par with what I knew from years ago. And I was like looking through. Sorry, this is kind of getting into this game a bit.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I saw how much some of these guys have aged since I last watched wrestling. I remember seeing Triple H and being like, what happened to him?
He's like pretty much a GM now at this point. Like, he runs one of the
He
shows.
just looked like so pruny.
He's
compared to like what he was.
he is like a part owner now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
he married a McMahon.
Well, he married into it.
He married Steph. Yeah.
Good for him.
So yeah, I don't know. I was all over the place with wrestling. So
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, I've been out of the loop on the TV aspect of wrestling since 2006, 2007. So it was a big wake up call, I think.
Yeah, that's about the last time that I watched as well. We all got into it again. Well, for me, it was again. You were a first timer for wrestling at that time.
Yeah, you and I got some pay-per-views here and there. Actually, you and I also got some pay-per-views here and there, like back in that mid-2000s era.
I grew up watching wrestling. Like, I started watching wrestling when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and like I had my favorites. I had people that I like really fucking like just thought were the absolute shit. Like Shawn Michaels was like my first. Like,
yep, yeah, same here.
Mick Foley, Mankind. I watched him go from Mankind, which is this weird guy, to like being like Mick Foley, the one that like everybody fucking loved, because he just like literally gave his entire body to the show, pretty much. So I had a deep appreciation for a lot of wrestling when I was a kid, and growing up into my teens even. So flash to now where I still pick up the games every, I think, like 3 or 4 years. I'll pick up one of the games just to see where it's at, how the mechanics. I fucking love wrestling games. There is just something about them. Like, I get really deep into and get real nerdy into like the mechanics of the game, and like try to do like the coolest shit possible in the game. Some games are really shallow when it comes to doing that kind of stuff, and some games are like really, really fucking insane. Like, there's
super in depth.
Yeah, super in depth.
Like this one.
Yeah, I kind of think this one like falls in like towards the depthy side.
Yeah,
but I still think one of the absolute craziest was WrestleMania. If you haven't listened to our GameCube review, I had that as like one of my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
There was a WrestleMania game on it. It was just absolutely fucking absurd. Yeah, so ever since Ukes gave up the license, now 2K has made the WWE games. So with that, let's get into some development.
Game development.
Actually, so I did a little bit of reading on this. This had actually one of the smaller rosters in recent years for games.
Yes, off the bat it did.
I think by nearly 100 wrestlers, I think it was down. I think it was, usually they hit around the 200 mark, and I think the original roster was like 120 on this game.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Yeah.
So substantial cut on roster for whatever reason.
Well, so there's a few reasons for that, and I was like reading about that. So one of the big things about this game is there is no 2K1. They took a year off because 2K20 came out and everyone hated it. It was an awful game. It had lots of bugs. They couldn't keep up with them. They could never fix it. So they kind of just ended up abandoning the game, which is a 2K thing that they do. So they took a year off. They got a bunch of new staffers in. They completely reworked the systems. And they came out with this game, and I think they weren't trying to overload everybody with characters, but also the WWE started cutting back because of COVID on the amount of wrestlers that they had on staff as well.
Oh, yeah, there were a lot of cutbacks.
And there's also the emergence of 2 actual rivals to them, AEW and There's some other one, but like they're actual rivals to WWE. They're actually cutting into their funds and their fan base pretty good because
So you're saying a lot of those guys probably just hopped the fence to
a lot
to
of
one
them
these
did.
other-
Yeah,
a lot of them.
A
did.
lot are going to, and even though I don't keep up on wrestling news, it pops up on my feed ever since playing this game and just saying wrestling. My phone's like, oh, you want to see this?
Yeah.
AEW. There's a lot of legacy WWE talent that's going over there, and a little bit of vice versa, like some that's coming back. But
like Jericho was over there for a really long time. He launched, and I think he owns part of it.
yeah, he's one that spearheaded it, and then you had Cody Rhodes, who was like the face of AEW for quite some time, who just jumped over to WWE, which that's Dusty Rhodes' son, brother of Dustin Rhodes, Goldust, and
he just came into the picture when I started watching back in like 2006.
Yeah. When he came on the
Yeah.
scene, he got really big. He was even on one of the cover athletes for one of the WWE games later on. He rose up through the ranks.
Yeah.
It's his it's his family's
the family
legacy.
name. Then and not to mention he does deliver from like the clips that I saw, but we don't need to like geek out too hard on like the actual wrestling. But still.
I'll probably go on a rant later at some point about one thing or another, but
that's two of us.
Back to the development of this. So basically there are things that kind of cut into their roster big time. And that is like a notable criticism that I've seen of the game, is that it's not as big as everyone was expecting it to be.
Right.
But they have been, granted you have to pay for it, but there's been a lot of DLC. And
That's a shame.
The fact that you can download up to, I think it's 80 superstars from the online creations is amazing. Personally, I downloaded almost like 60 people onto my roster and had them like in rotations and stuff. And there are certain content creators out there on WWE Universe,
the universe,
whatever, that really took the time to like make things like super authentic. And when I found them, I'd look at what they had all uploaded, and just anybody that I recognized from like the heyday or anything, I was just like downloading all of their stuff. So.
Which is really cool, because it does seem like, at least when it comes to the roster, there was a lot of filler. Because like, hey, here's this wrestler back from 97, 02, 07, 13. Where it's like there's 5 versions of
Rey Mysterio. Like, why do we need 50 versions?
He
of
got
Rey
old
Mysterio?
too.
Well, I mean, also, I mean that may be because of like the showcase and whatnot. But he's not the only one that they're like, hey, here's like 5 different versions of this, and it's not so much like, I mean, that'll come down like one of the other like topics that we have, but it feels like that was the filler, instead of like, oh, here's people we actually have on the roster who should be in games.
Here's Scott Nash, here's Diesel, here's Scott Nash from WCW 96 SummerSlam or Summer Bash, and
I like how you just meshed like Kevin Hull and Scott Nash together like into one.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair,
it's both of them. They did the exact same thing
they
for
did.
both of them.
Here's says Kevin Nash. Oh yeah, Diesel, the Razor Ramon. I got a toothpick. Hey yo.
Yeah. And then they had Scott Hall, which, rest in peace, Scott Hall.
Yeah,
he's the most. Well, he's probably not the most recent as of this recording.
Probably not. Someone probably died yesterday.
He was one of the most prolific to die this year. Anyway.
Jeff Hardy just fucking got another DUI.
Yeah.
Christ.
Did you see the video?
No, there's a video of it.
Oh yeah. They approached the car with guns.
I can't say I'm
Jesus Christ!
surprised.
Okay, all right. That's off topic.
Yeah, no, it's on top.
Yeah, it kind of is on topic.
Anyway,
strike 3.
Okay,
This is what happens.
I'm gonna rein us back in, and let's put Story through a table.
Story.
If you don't mind me real quick, so I know you were pitching the superstar mode.
My Rise.
My Rise is like the storyline. I was thinking Rey Mysterio's like match thing.
There's
was
his
kind of like the
showcase.
story.
There's two storylines that I was going to kind of talk about. I was going to talk about the general My Rise thing because that's
Yeah.
short, and then I was going to talk about the Rey Mysterio showcase a little bit. Not really going in depth. There's a ton of stuff there. If you're really nerdy into wrestling, there's a really cool behind the scenes thing for Rey Mysterio. So, all right. So there's two modes that have story in this. Really, it's My Rise and the showcase, which is Rey Mysterio's entire career, and like I think it's like 12 or 9 or 12 of his
It's like 12 or
biggest fights.
16 matches. Like it's a
I didn't think it was 16, but
No.
it was double digits. I know that at least.
either way,
Yeah.
it's quite a few marquee matches of really importance to him, importance to his career, and things like that. There's some really cool ones. They do a lot of really interesting things with it. We can kind of dissect a little bit more of that after. I mean, there's not much to really talk about. He pays homage to Eddie Guerrero in
Yeah.
it for like 3, and like I actually thought it was really kind of like moving because he was talking about his friend.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't what I like about the showcase specifically is that he was talking as a human, not as the wrestler.
Kind of.
For most of it, but like about Eddie specifically, there was no wrestling.
kayfabe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like wrestling machismo in it. When he was talking about like his fight with Kane or whatever, he was just like, "Oh, the big red machine." It's like, okay, yeah, you're just playing that up. It was a great match, but like whatever. So the other one is My Rise, which is you create a character and you go from jobber going into the WWE Wrestling Academy and working your way onto one of the 3 shows, NXT, SmackDown, or Raw. It's actually kind of interesting because they have Shawn Michaels and Road Dogg as the 2 people that are the trainers for that. And they're actual trainers now for that. Like that's like their jobs within the company.
Yeah, they're there to help develop and to tell the new ones, suck it.
Yeah. They pretty much like.
It's funny how
are
DX
like-
is just running the company now.
yeah, pretty much.
The fun
DX
thing is,
pretty much.
they've been running the company for a long fucking time.
Yeah,
and
pretty
guess what? One of them, married to McMahon, still running the company.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
Did it during the DX thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh no, it's fake. They're not actually married." Like, actually, that's a legally binding marriage, but this was like outside of wrestling. They had it planned, and they just decided to do
it
the
in the ring or
marriage.
whatever.
on
Yeah,
the- yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Why not?
So in My Rise, you get the opportunity to go and be a face or a heel for one of the big 3 shows. Me personally, I did the Raw. I made it to Raw.
Same.
I did SmackDown.
Okay.
And,
were you guys faces or heels starting off? Because you can change throughout.
Yes, I started as a face, and then as I got like to the high popularity and like won the title, I was like, all right, I'll switch to heel. And then you're just like attacking people and
Yeah.
stuff, and that's fun. Like,
In the back, like, parking lot. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just going to jump you real quick.
yep, yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much the crux of the story of this game. So, like, did you guys want to like dissect anything specifically? Maybe some favorite moments from My Rise if you played it, or the showcase.
Ironically enough, my favorite parts of the story have nothing to do with the story.
Okay.
And to me, they're kind of more gameplay related.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I felt like with the story, you had to change whether you were a face or a heel to be able to progress.
Yeah, at
And
some
then-
point they kind of force you. They kind of like pigeonhole you and be like, look, you have 2 things you can do, and once you do the one thing, you're going to have to go heel anyway. So
Right.
or
And-
switch shows.
Yeah, which you also had to do to progress the story.
Yes,
I mean, I think I
yeah.
got it up to like 85 or 90% for My Rise, and that was just like jumping.
Oh, damn. You played more than I did. I did mostly like all of Raw. I think I have Raw 100%.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's literally I had to jump back and forth because it felt like it was the same kind of storylines, and I wasn't like, get me a title. It's like, oh, here's a shot at like the U.S. title. Okay, cool, I got that. What's next? Oh, well, here's whatever the equivalent of Intercontinental is, or what the US is on the other brand. All right, I'll jump over and do that. And before I knew it, it's like I had to cycle through everything. So I got the championship of like NXT, SmackDown, and Raw. And I mean, I switched brands without even fucking knowing. And it was like, oh, such and such wants to talk to you. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to SmackDown. Oh, you're going to NXT. I'm like, oh, all right. I didn't pay attention who's the GM for what. It's like it just gets it gets like mismatched, and I don't know like the actual personalities of who's doing what these days, and I feel like you kind of have to know to be like, oh,
yeah,
William Regal. Oh yeah, I'll go with you.
It's Maria something runs Raw. Stephanie runs SmackDown, and William Regal runs NXT.
Because I know there was I think NXT was Regal, like Adam Pearce, I think is SmackDown, and it does. It's a lady that starts with an M. It might be like Marla or something else. Yeah. Is Raw, and it's like I don't, other than like William Regal because he's been around for the past 35 fucking years.
Yeah,
like,
William Regal's been.
I don't know who
forever.
else. I don't know these names. Who are you? Why are you approaching me?
Yeah, I mean, like there's some like fun moments to kind of participate in. I still feel like in the story that especially with like My Rise, they're trying to go after the Attitude Era of like here's an event that's kind of like something that happened in the Attitude Era.
But it's not.
But it's not because there's new people involved.
Yeah. There's no TNA. There's no puppies.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like there's none of that stuff.
It was a very different time back then.
yeah, no, totally. And
what the fuck did they call it? HLA, Hot Lesbian Action. That was a fucking thing.
Yes, that was a fucking thing in.
Really?
Yes, it was in like the late '90s, early 2000. HLA was like
What a different time.
I know, right?
The Attitude Era of wrestling was fucking incredible,
It was the Wild West,
and it was the Wild West of television.
So I kind of actually do have something to say about the story, and
Sure.
it applies to both story modes of the game, if you will. Where
If this is where you say that you didn't know how to play the game,
no,
we'll save that for gameplay.
no.
that's gameplay.
So they're still presenting it in a way where like they're trying to be like it's not scripted, but like everyone knows like the fights aren't really scripted, but the outcomes are scripted.
Yeah.
And like there's
Yeah.
key points in the match that are scripted and all that kind of like they're like, hey, these are the kinds of things we want you to do, and then it's kind of improv, right? And like they're still not like acknowledging it, even though everybody knows it. And like to me, playing from My Rise, it's like, okay, I would like to see the development of that happening is way more interesting to me than if you try and pawn this off like this shit's real. There's real beefs. I mean, certainly there are real beefs, but a lot of them are not real.
Yeah,
and that bothers me.
A big point where that came out was with Rey Mysterio's showcase, because like, oh, he's getting the best of me. He hit me really hard with that,
Yeah,
and I
that
felt like,
bothered-
and it's like he's keeping kayfabe, which he's a wrestler, he has to, but to a certain extent, it's like we know it's like this is like give us a little more like behind
Don't
the
fucking
scenes.
sugarcoat it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I would much rather be in it. Like, here's how the planning meeting went beforehand with Eddie.
Right.
That would have been fucking sick.
Right.
So there's long been this whole like brotherhood inside of wrestling that like all of that shop talk never gets out.
It's starting to though.
until you're
it's-
retired.
No, there's still
it's-
active people that are starting to do it.
somewhat, but it's still not the nitty gritty. Like,
Right.
Like if you talk about that stuff, you don't have a job anymore, especially with WWE.
Unless you're Stone Cold Steve Austin in his podcast, because he does break stuff down like on like
Yeah.
it comes up. I see it, but sorry, not to interject.
Right, but and I haven't listened to Stone Cold's podcast, but like I'm sure there's still stuff that he doesn't talk about. Like there is like from everything that I've ever like read or listened to, there is just like 15 secrets that are just never discussed anywhere involving wrestling.
Well, right, and I'm okay with that, but like to gloss over it and not acknowledge it at all is what I'm like.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but here's the thing. WWE still has to sell that product, and they have to sell it to the 8-year-olds that still believe it could be real.
Right. It's still real to me, damn it.
Yeah, right. Like there are people.
I don't think the 8-year-olds are getting into it without their parents, though.
Not totally true.
I mean,
But-
I got into it myself, dude. No one in my household was into wrestling. I saw it on TV and was fucking enamored with it.
Oh yeah, no, I would
Yeah.
argue against your point though. I feel like kids get into stuff without their parents.
Yeah.
help all the time.
All the ti- all
how
the
much
time.
do you expose your parents to that they're like, what the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair.
no, exactly, dude. I have a fucking 7-year-old that like just comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, Dad, I watched all these like Lego build competitions on YouTube," and I'm like,
Okay, cool, bud.
I was like, okay, that's awesome. Like, can you show me what you're watching? Like, because I want to see it and make sure it's not weird or creepy. Because the internet's
Yeah.
a very scary place. But like,
I took my dad to the Pokemon movie twice, like the original one. It's like he had to sit through that bullshit, and it's like I feel bad for him now looking back on it. But
I took my dad to the Pokemon movie as well because my mom was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this. I've taken him to like everything. You need to go bond with your son." And my
was
dad,
bad.
my dad asked me 5 minutes in. He was like, "Hey, can we leave?" And I was like, "No, I want to see this." And he's like,
Oh, but I was
And then-
young
and then-
and I still knew it was bad.
And
though.
then 5 minutes later, my dad is just snoring. He's like, "All right, well, I'm going to take this opportunity to nap."
Yeah, this doesn't argue for or against your point that you're making, Joe, but it does kind of run parallel. I did notice, like, a lot of story segments that they were talking about, they never really used the word wrestler, though. It was always, like, superstar.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
branding thing.
I know, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they it's kind of like their way to sidestep from that, like, officialness.
Yeah, well, they
Yeah,
they
yeah, they have-
emphasize.
Because they're leaning more into these are actors.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes,
yes,
they are.
But without coming out directly
Yep.
to say it.
Yeah.
they're-
This wrestler, the superstar, it's like, SmackDown's, lucky to have this superstar walking into it. And yeah, like that was very prevalent in
It's
pretty
not
much
create a
anything.
wrestler anymore. It's create a superstar.
Yeah.
It's not, like they moved off of that as a brand. But yeah, so like I agree to a point, but also this is a product that's going to be marketed to everybody, and it's like the mass
Yeah.
media stuff. Like kids aren't finding like the deep dark cuts on the internet of like wrestlers talking about that stuff, but I'm sure that's out there. If
Sure,
you're interested.
The
And,
dark
dude,
side of the ring.
My opinion, as a 35-year-old.
Yeah.
Dude, when I used to go to PGW in Philly with my buddy TK, we partied with wrestlers, and I tried to get that information, and they were just like, "Dude, we don't talk shop outside of the ring. Like it's
Nope.
not. It's just no." I was like, okay, fair enough. He's like, yeah, basically, if you ever want to get a job anywhere, you don't talk shop.
Yeah, you shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like it's basically people in the know. Like you can talk shop with another wrestler, but you can't talk shop with like a non-wrestler. Like
Right.
it's
I mean, sure. Like, I understand, like, maybe not being, like, disclosing the shop talk particulars, but, like, to not even acknowledge that it happens.
Some of that's part of it sometimes.
But it's not, though. Like, they talk about it openly all the time. Like,
Some do. Yeah.
it's mostly about injuries and how
well,
like
no,
a
it's
move
like
gets fucked
like,
up.
what the fuck is the announcer on SmackDown right now? I forget his name, but like I was like watching interviews with him, and he's like, oh yeah, like Vince comes into my headset, like, and just was like, hey, like as a heads up, like this is gonna happen. And
Yeah,
but
but that's
like,
not-
and he's like acknowledging that like
That-
these things are planned.
But he's an announcer
Well,
and he's not a wrestler. That's what it just it.
I mean, some of it, like you have certain liberties, I would imagine.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, right.
I think we're just like diving way too far off
Yeah,
from
this
the
is like
actual.
this is getting into
we're
the
we're
rabbit
getting into.
hole.
Are we doing a wrestling podcast? Like totally.
Again,
Yes,
my
let's do
opinion
it.
on the story is
Yeah.
that the whole this is a real beef thing is dumb, and I don't like it. It's
kind-
not interesting.
Like I
You don't
would
buy
want,
in. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's
it'd be cool to see a little more insight while you're playing or something, or at least
I want to be like the character you're playing. You don't actually get to play.
Joe's the guy that wants to see the lightsaber assembled. That's what it is.
No, I mean,
you play the actor part of him. Like, you're not the actual guy.
Kind of.
You know what I mean?
There's a part in my Rise where it's just like, John Cena is like too busy like making movies and whatnot. I'm going to call him out. And you're basically just spend like 3 matches just like, oh, you remember when you wrestled this person? I just beat them. You remember when you wrestled this person? I just beat them too. When are you coming back? And you're kind of like calling them out like a little bit.
Like, you're out making movies. I'm out here doing
exactly.
The damn thing.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of something where it's just like, okay, acknowledge just like, you moved on from the business mostly. What you show, and I think they even said it like in one of the lines where it's like, you show up like once a year and you like fight for a title, and that's supposed to make you special. Mm-hmm. So at least like it's a little bit of a dig at that. It's not to the extent of what it could be, but there's just like enough stir the pot a little bit. But also, I mean, it's WWE making this game, so they're not going to go too far in. But
right. Basically, I mean, it's the same thing as like any other entertainment that I consume. I go all in just based on what's happening on the screen. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, yes, that's real people like fucking themselves up occasionally, like real bad. But like, I know it's scripted. I know all of that stuff, but I buy in.
It's a simple pleasure for you.
Yes, it's more enjoyable to just buy into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just fun. That's what I've always gotten out of wrestling. Like, dude, I read Mick Foley's book, and like, he pretty much is just like, hey, this is all like, this is kind of how it goes, and like, this is how it's not making sense.
It was.
Yeah, like it, it gets into that kind of stuff, and it's just interesting. Like, I don't know, I just buy in. It's the same thing as like watching Star Wars or watching Marvel. It's like, okay, I know this is all fake, but I'm buying in to enjoy it.
Yeah, and to Joe's point, it feels like the story part of this game was more just kind of like basic level instead of kind of like really drawing in, because at least through like the My Rise story, it just seemed like the same thing over and over again.
It didn't feel like any actual character development.
No,
there
wasn't. The only development was just like, am I going to be good? Am I going to be bad? Do I have a title? Cool. And that was pretty much about it.
Am I going to get on to Raw and the first thing that I do is attack R-Truth in the parking lot? And win
right.
The 24-hour title?
I'm the 24/7 title holder.
And
Great.
then you're forced to lose it.
Yeah. And at least like seeing like Rey Mysterio's story was pretty cool, because you know, since WWE bought WCW, ECW, they bought everybody basically up until like 10 years ago. You got all of that content, and the way they produced that content was really neat, going from Ray telling the story into the match that you were playing, and then it went into the live video and back and forth. That was really fun, because I remember seeing a lot of these matches, being a huge wrestling fan at the time. So being able to it made you feel, or at least for me, it made me feel more part of the story, part of the match, or, the saga that was Rey Mysterio. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and this is one of the first ones that they did for one of the older wrestlers. A lot of the newer ones have just been they did a showcase on the game 2 years ago, and the showcase was like, oh, wrestlers in the wasteland, and it was like super theatrical and done up, and it was literally like if the WWE existed during the time of Mad Max.
Okay.
So, like, they had the liberty to do the wildest fucking shit, because they're just in a virtual playground at that point.
Gotcha.
So, like, to see this and what they did with the showcase here with Rey Mysterio was awesome, because I think the showcase they did before that was John Cena. And it's okay. Like John Cena is
he's been around for a while.
He's been around for a while now, but it's not I didn't grow
not
up
the
watching
same.
John Cena.
No.
Like John Cena was like starting to become popular in high school when we were in high school. You know what I mean? And like a little bit before then, but
Yeah.
you know, it
He
wasn't.
was called like the prototype or some
yes,
shit like that.
the protege.
The protege.
Or no, the
I think it was the
It might have
prototype.
been the prototype. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way.
Either way.
Yeah,
All right,
like
yeah.
he like when he first like came on the scene and stuff, and then like okay, like he had some big marquee matches and like that's cool, but like Rey Mysterio is like back to the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, so it was cool to see some of those older matches, like especially like the Eddie Guerrero ones.
Yeah.
Like those hit home to me personally, just because I was like, oh yeah, like Eddie died in like a very terrible like way. You know what I mean? Like it's just so early, so young.
Yeah.
Like shit like that, and it's like I don't know. That stuff was cool to me
Right.
to see.
At least with story, because I know GM mode is like your fucking bag, Harry. Like, is there like any story to that, or is it just basically building shows and that's it? I don't want to get
really
like
story. It's more gameplay.
Okay.
Yeah, the
All right.
GM mode is like almost strictly gameplay.
I was just wondering because I dipped my toe in and I'm like, this is not my thing.
You're
So-
basically just competing for fans. There's no actual really interaction other than you.
There's a lot of because you go to like this. It's like your email.
Do we want to just move into gameplay?
Well, no, I got a couple things else. I still want to stay on story. But okay, so a couple things I did want to say with story. Now, it was authentic in a certain way, and I don't know if it's for a good reason though. The bad acting. I didn't get too far into my rise, but like some of those scenes, like it was like the way over the top cheesiness with the lines.
Oh yeah,
and the delivery.
That's just WWE shtick right there.
I know
man.
it's worse playing it in a game than watching it on TV.
Do you think because they're so used to doing it live, and then when they're like, "Hey, here's a script, say this thing," I'm gonna come for you.
I don't know what it is. It just didn't work for me.
Like even in like the training facility for me though. That's what I was saying about like the behind the scenes. It's like the over the top thing is totally true, and it's like, okay, I'm like in the training area, and like you don't need to be like all fucking machismo. Like we're normal people. We're both doing the same thing. We're both competing for the same thing. Like we're not putting on a show. Why are we acting like there's a fucking show?
Well, yeah. Yes, and like by default, this game has to be scripted. You can't just have.
Well,
like,
sure.
Of course, yeah.
So don't make it feel as scripted as it has to be scripted. I don't know.
It's very eccentric.
It was bad. It was really bad.
Kind of. I will say I feel like that's also the personality of some of these wrestlers or superstars, like Jay Paragon or whatever the fuck his name.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a believable person of just not a character. It's like what I got is like, oh, you're just a pretentious asshole.
Everyone said Booker T was like a really fucking handful in the locker room, like he like a true asshole to everybody. Oh yeah,
I could see that though.
yeah.
He just seemed it. The other thing I wanted to say. So this isn't exclusive to My Rise or the Rey Mysterio thing, but I did feel like when they were hitting like the dialogue segments, they were a little long-winded, and I lost interest after a few minutes. Where it's like, okay, cool, just hit your point, drive it home, and then let's move on. But like, there was a lot of just like lingering and repeating and delaying, and very. I got easily lost after a couple minutes of just trying to get through some of that. That's my opinions on the story.
That's completely fair. All right, let's hit gameplay with the steel chair.
Gameplay.
Gameplay. Oh,
I was surprised at the gameplay.
But were you?
Yeah.
What surprised you?
How similar it was to some of the old games.
Okay, so you were expecting something better.
I was hoping some things would get updated.
Well, so here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing about you saying like the last one that you really played a lot of was like the 64 versions and stuff because
I mean, I played the Xbox 360 one for like 5 or 6 hours, and that's enough to like understand like there's certain mechanics. Like so the things that like bothered me then still bother me now. Like when you like pick someone up and drop them, if you're too close to the rope, they don't just like drop onto the rope. they like you slide to more into the middle of the ring so that into a space where if you drop them, they land on the mat. But yeah, no. So like, there's like the collision stuff as far as like doing moves and stuff. Like it's like I wish there was a way to just more organically have that type of stuff happen, or just like, look, if I'm gonna suplex somebody and I'm near the fucking edge, throw him into the fucking rope, or throw him out of the ring a little bit more organically. Like, don't skate me 5 feet into the ring so that he has a space to land.
It's still broken.
Yeah, like,
and that's something.
That's the part that bothered me. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's been this way for 30 years. Like,
Yeah, there's
they haven't
no
been able
difference.
to organically figure that out yet.
No, and you know, I get like certain limitations and whatnot, but these are the same glitches that were happening in the early 2000s of whatever version of WWE, WWF game. Take your pick. It's still fucked up. Like where I'm trying to like walk over to a corner and like pick up a table in a table match, and I can't, and he's just like grabbing at air or sidestepping out of the ring, climbing up the turnbuckles and not picking up the table. It's like, can't you kind of like specify on, okay, you need to do this for your match. Maybe just put a little bit more attention into it. And no, it's still, I will still call it a broken game.
Yeah, the weapon detection in this, like when you're trying to pick anything up, is awful.
even an
like,
opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ran into that a little bit less. I think it's just one of those things that, like, because I've played so many of them, I already know, like, okay, that's not going to work, so I'm not even going to attempt it. That kind of thing,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Where
like,
to go and what to do.
yeah, it's like muscle memory
Yeah.
at this point. I'm like,
But-
okay, no, like I need to make sure that my feet are pretty much under somebody before I'm going to grab them. I need to be standing over like a weapon to pick it up, like,
Right.
shit like that. Like, there's a lot of like weird physics. I did like listen to like a little bit of a documentary where they were talking about like the astronomical amount of physics that go into this style of game.
I'm sure.
is like Madden, like the mathematical equations that they use to like figure out how they're going to do the physics of these types of games. Like Madden is like 1/5 of what this is, and that's insane because Madden still has all of its issues every year as well. Like,
Right.
it's just like it's so broken that I don't think that they'll ever really get it perfect at this point. And I don't think, I think it's just one of those things that like people approach the game and know like, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this. I know this is going to be broken. Like,
Yeah.
and this is like 3 companies that have had long-standing WWE titles, and no one has figured it out.
It's the same thing every damn time. That's the only thing that's kind of frustrating. I was hoping for a little bit more, like, it's okay, it does get a little bit better, like at least from 15 years ago when I played it last, but still it's like it's like a leg caught in the ropes and then someone's just bouncing up and down, like basically seizing and not hitting the ground. It's like this hasn't been addressed yet, and that's just, you know, I don't want to, you know, see someone just kind of like shaky like that. Come on.
Yeah, no, like I totally agree. They should probably have their kill animations like way shorter to like kill that kind of stuff. Just be like, oh, your leg's stuck on there, just drop it. Like, just drop it on the ground. Like, just phase through it, do your thing.
Just say no.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, there are no games that do it perfectly, in my opinion. That kind of like physical connectivity between those types of things. Like, even the like UFC. Like, I've seen so many people like get knocked out, they go down and they do like the chicken leg thing that we've seen plenty of fighters do.
Yeah.
And then they spring forward and like do a swan dive across the ring. Like, I've seen that shit. Like, it's just weird because it's like, you know, it's physics on physics on physics.
I get that. It's
doesn't
just not.
feel like
It's
it.
not that much different than what it was.
Sure.
In my experience. And then that's just like, that was the only thing that was like overwhelmingly like disappointing.
I remember back in the day, one of the biggest things that really bothered me is at least that you stay in the ring now. Before, they used to have it where you would start glitching out and then it would throw you out of the ring. It would just spring you out of the ring, and you would take damage like you fell off the top of a Hell in a Cell. Like, it would just be like, boom, your arms are red. Like, you're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, so
yeah, now you just are forced to roll out of the ring and then just lay on the side mat for 45 seconds to 2.5 hours and
just get ringed out.
I was gonna say that's a new mechanic that I didn't like. I know it's been 15 years since I played a wrestling game, but that was like a mechanic that jumped out right away.
So they
stupid.
They did that to level the playing field because there are certain characters that could do that years before, where you could just slide out of the ring and you're standing. Now they made it so that if you're not a character that typically does that kind of maneuver, that move is still there to get you out of the ring, so you're not getting like walloped on, but then you're stunned on the ground on the outside, so it gives you more
for so long.
Yeah, it's fucking absurd.
It's way too long. I literally
it shouldn't
just
be longer than the ring out timer, because then it's fucking pointless. Just let me get hammered in the ring at that point.
Right. If you're doing like a battle royale or something else where there's just like multiple people and like I get it. It's a mechanic, but you're laying ringside for literally like over a minute is ridiculous with how immersive this game should be. Like what am I doing? I'm sitting here hitting buttons hoping to get up kind of soon so I can do something. It was extremely frustrating.
Yeah. And it would like ruin entire matches, and you'd be like 15 minutes into a match and some bullshit like that would happen, and you're like, ugh. I would just turn the fucking console off and I'd be like, I'm done for tonight.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't dick around with the settings, but can you turn that off in the settings?
I'm gonna say no, probably.
I
I just feel like this could be like one of those games that are highly customizable.
No. I mean, depending on what
the game is super customizable.
Yes.
But
I specific.
I don't know if the ring out action is. I think you can. I think on your characters you can remove, like your creative characters, you can make it so that they don't have a move for that, and then you just can't ring out.
They just automatically roll out of the ring and then have like a full stun bar that goes down one tick like every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh wait, are you talking about when you get stunned and roll out of the ring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that is very...
That is not what I'm talking about.
I thought you guys were talking about like the resting to regain stamina.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about resting. I'm saying if you get hit with a move and then your character automatically rolls out of the ring, like if you're trying to like get up or something, and then they fall to the floor outside of the ring, and then they're just sitting there
underneath the ropes.
Yeah, like on the side of the ring. Okay. Yeah. If it's like a pinfall match, they'll get up kind of quickly. If it's not, if it's like out of like some sort of like other elimination
submission or whatever,
your character will lay there for like 30, 45 seconds, which doesn't seem like a long time unless you're sitting there holding controllers just saying move. And they don't move.
Yeah, the stun thing is only if you take an entire bar's worth of damage.
No.
So
it's
the
not.
problem,
There's more to it.
So sometimes you also take damage rolling out of the ring. So, because I've done the thing where you intentionally roll out to dodge.
Yes.
Like if somebody's coming off the ropes.
And you hit like R1 and move
and you
towards
roll. I've rolled out of the ring and became stunned from falling off the ring.
Yes.
See, that's a glitch. Like, that's a glitch.
Stupid.
That's not how that's supposed to work.
That is an in-game mechanic that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't think the stun thing is like super unfair, to be completely honest.
Okay.
I actually don't think it's that bad.
I didn't
like
mind
you
the
either
mechanic.
you either just got your ass whooped or you just got hit with a finisher. That's typically the only times that I have ever experienced getting stunned.
Yeah, those are fine. those aren't the times that I really ever got stunned though. Most of the times it was like I fucking dodged. Like,
And you just went stunned and then rolled out of the ring.
yeah.
You dodged and got stunned.
Yeah, it was like press the button to fucking dodge when they're like in midair, and I rolled out of the ring and stunned.
That's weird.
That happened a lot. And I lost several matches because of it, because it was like stunned, and then it was like I would just get ringed out. And I'm like, cool.
Literally
off.
never experienced that.
It was terrible.
Neither have I, but still, it's something that happens.
Yeah. I got wrung out once because I got stuck in the stairs trying to get back in the ring.
Yep.
That was fucking annoying.
Happened to me too.
I was like, guess I'm not using the stairs anymore. And then even trying to just get back in the ring sometimes, I'd have to hit the button like several times sometimes just to get in. And I'm just like, ah. And the only way I could reliably do it was like to back away from the ring and full sprint run in. I couldn't just climb in like
You
up
can
the
just
side.
tap R1 and climb in.
Dude, sometimes they wouldn't do it. Like it would just stand there, and I'm like, so I would have to do the dot, like run and then slide, like under the bottom rope in, and that was the only reliable way I could get in. I was just like,
I did find like moving in and out of the ring like fully
Did you play on PS5?
yeah,
was not up to par. And sometimes you like go all the way out of the ring. Sometimes you just went through the ropes and you're standing on the apron. And if, God forbid, you're within like 3 feet of the turnbuckle, then you just climb the turnbuckle or something else, and then you're just sitting there perched.
You want me to do a quick rundown of GM mode? Or
Yeah,
you guys
sure.
wanna
I mean,
complain about
that's
I've been
mechanics
going for a
longer?
while, so
Yeah.
please cut me off.
I'm going to be completely honest.
I don't know how much I could do if
I played
Mechanics.
like a full hour of GM mode, so please, you are the GM master right
I
now.
wouldn't say master. But anyway, so that was always my favorite mode in the old ones. Like if I was playing this game, it was 100% doing that, and then you could like pick and choose like the matches you want to play.
Yeah.
So anyway, they did add a lot of new features. So there's a lot more customization to each episode. So like you're choosing your GM, you get these like different cards that you can use where if you need to give somebody a rest, and they're like some of them are one-time use, but you can earn more as you're progressing through if you hit certain achievements. And
Yeah,
the achievements aren't very tough.
Yeah,
to hit.
the commissioner gives you the opportunity to earn a card one each week. You can earn one just by making like doing a certain thing, like like
It's
have a
usually,
run
like,
in on
hitting your fan count or whatever.
No, it's usually like stuff that you can actually control, like
Yeah, like have a certain type of match.
or have
okay.
somebody run in on your champion this week, or leave this person off the match card because they need to heal or something like that. He's like, oh, do this.
Oh, okay.
And that's Triple H. Triple H runs all of the shows. That's where he's at.
I'm
now.
everywhere. I'm
So-
the game.
And that's where I was talking earlier, like the storyline aspect, somewhat in quotations, for GM mode is there's emails after every show. Hey, I've been on contract for a while. I need a raise, or and like things that affect your gameplay, or I don't like the way that match was performed. I want a rematch in 2 weeks, or I'm walking, and like there's a lot of like this storyline of the characters, how like they want to develop their standings,
career.
Yeah.
in their career with the show.
There's a lot of that in My Rise. Actually, Morgan really pointed something out the one time because I was playing My Rise, and then it's all about like social media and whatnot. She's
Yes,
like,
it's all about Twitter.
and she says like, does your wrestling game have like Twitter and like Instagram? I'm like, yeah, kind of. She's like, you don't use those anyway. You fucking hate that. I'm like, I know, but I have to do it, and it's just there. So that
So
just
many
seems
unread messages.
now knowing like I know, right? So just knowing that's a prevalent theme throughout, like even
It was in all the
as a
modes.
wrestler
Well,
or
no, not
as a
on-
GM, it's just like, hey, deal with these DMs and plan your life around this. Stupid. Sorry, that's just me.
So the one thing that is, I'm just going to kind of compare with the older ones, like what they've improved on. So
Oh, okay, yeah,
there's
definitely.
Bunch of, so it's not just like face and heel now.
real quick, the My GM mode is a return since the time that you played. This is the first time.
Oh, this is the
GM
first time.
This is the first time that they brought it back. It's a new thing that they brought back for this since the time that you and I loved GM mode.
So this is a direct comparison. No development over the years.
This
super
is,
critical.
I think there was one other iteration of it, and it just wasn't. It wasn't the same at all. I think on 16, they had one, and it was not this, and it wasn't what it was.
Yeah. It's not just face and heel, but they also have or like the weight types. I think they had before, like cruiserweight and all that.
Yeah.
But now you have your you have your giants. You have your high flyers, your technical, your
There's a class
bruisers,
there's a class
bruiser,
fighter,
and
fighter,
certain
bruiser.
wrestlers
Specialist.
pair up better with others.
It's like
get,
their
higher
attributes
ratings.
and whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you have a bunch of that. You can do a lot of different promos to boost somebody's standings. Again, you set up all the matches and you compare whatever show you want. I think you could set up. It's not just Raw versus SmackDown. You could pick whatever
you could
shows
do-
you want to compete.
You could do Raw versus NXT or SmackDown versus NXT.
It did seem pretty in depth. It's here's your GM. Your GM has certain bonuses or adders towards shows or something else. So that seemed to. Who was your GM?
I
Who'd you pick?
did the base guy. I didn't want to fuck around until I knew how this mode was gonna.
Okay.
I always used. I forget who it was, but I know the card that they give you, and they allow you to your first legend that you sign to your show.
I think that's Regal.
Regal, yeah,
probably,
is free. So I would go in and I would find the highest popularity person that would join permanently, and I was like, okay, yeah, you. And it's like
Gotcha.
you're starting the mode with $100,000, and you're like, oh cool, I'm going to sign this $300,000 contract right off the bat with someone who is ultra popular and has a ton of stamina, and he's going to pretty much be my champion right off the bat.
It's the only little bit that I played of GM mode is I just picked Stephanie McMahon, but that's also because I've had a crush on her for the past 20 years.
We all have.
Yes, we're close to the same age. Watch out, Hunter. Or Paul. Watch out, Paul.
I don't know. I think it's a fun aspect, just creating the show, and but my one issue is I think the math is off with this mode, and that bothers me a bit. And I think it was off with Raw versus SmackDown before. For example, I will have longer lasting rivalries. I'll do the bigger matches, spend more on the show, and yet I'll be slightly over my competition. But if I do on par, because my competition, I did Raw versus SmackDown. I did SmackDown because that was always my show. I'll do the Hell in a Cell matches. I'll do the
TLC,
the
Money in
tag
the Bag.
Yeah, you know what? They have a limited amount of matches, which bothered me too.
It was tables, Extreme, TL. No,
Hell in a Cell was the top.
Hell in a Cell was
the most
top.
expensive
There was
match
no
you can do.
TLC matches that you could do in GM mode. Yeah,
I know.
you couldn't schedule.
There was no fatal four ways or anything like that.
It was only one-on-one or tag.
And did they get rid of tag titles?
No.
No,
Do they not exist anymore?
They do.
They do.
They just didn't have them in the mode because you're only booking 3 matches.
Yeah, which I thought was weird. I don't.
Or you have to have the certain people.
Well, there was only one.
No. There's in GM mode. It's only your show's premier
A
title.
women's title and a men's title.
Oh.
That was it.
Oh, there was a women's title.
Yeah.
Shows you how I played the game.
Chauvinist pig.
No, I just didn't like.
Didn't like ladies. We know.
I don't like
know.
using the female.
All about
wrestlers.
dick.
Loves looking at
No, I
big-breasted
have
guys.
I have a weird thing about
balls.
I
I
don't like beating up women in games. I just don't. I don't like it.
That's a weird
Well,
way to say masturbating.
The game will
but-
not let you pair up men versus women.
No, I understand. I understand
even
that.
through my Rise, when there's
Yeah,
a
the
mixed
tag
tag
matches.
match, as soon as you tag your partner, if it's
You run
male,
over and
female,
tag,
male,
yeah.
yeah,
if
and
there's
then
a
the other person
mixed
comes in,
gender.
and there's there is no physical violence.
It's not like in Raw where you could just
Yeah.
in the Raw era where you would just go in and beat the shit out of Stephanie McMahon with Stone Cold.
Oh yeah, let me power bomb fucking Trish Stratus. Yeah, not so much
that
anymore.
stuff does not happen
No.
anymore.
It's a shame.
Just be Rikishi's fucking sit on Lita.
Yeah, it's just like a stink face, like going in there. But don't let this distract you that back in 1998, Undertaker threw Mankind 16 feet off of the top of the Hell in a Cell match through an announcer's table. That's important.
But that one match,
never forget.
And then he climbed back up to the top of the
Yes,
cage.
he did.
And then got pile driven through the fucking cage.
He did. That was not supposed to happen, but it happened.
Yeah, he fought back. Like, he was just like, no, I don't want to go out on a stretcher. Climbed the cage, then he was just like, yeah, do the finisher.
Goddamn Mick Foley.
Pile drive through the fucking Hell in the Cell to the mat. He hits the mat. There was a chair at the top of the Hell in the Cell for whatever reason, and that's what he got hit on. Like, he literally pile drived him on, or tombstoned him onto the steel chair. Foley and the steel chair fell through the Hell in a Cell to the mat, another 15-foot drop, and the chair smacked Foley in the mouth, and the most famous picture ever is him there. His face is covered in blood, and you can see his tooth, which went up through the back of his nostril and came out his nose.
oh god.
Though I will say,
That man's a fucking legend.
nicest person I've ever fucking met at a meet and greet was Mick Foley.
I've heard he is just an absolute...
He is a goddamn sweetheart. He
does all the Santa stuff, too.
He does,
Like, that
yeah.
shit's
No,
awesome.
that
shit is so cool.
Gave the biggest smile with my fucking nerdy 12-year-old self, my fisherman's hat.
I mean, I met a childhood hero at Too Many Games with Tommy Dreamer and getting to interview him. If you haven't heard that, check that out. But
Yeah.
we
Look
got
back
to
in, like,
interview Tommy
2019.
Dreamer. Yeah. He signed my ECW 64 game. It was awesome.
But just to wrap up my thoughts on GM, like I do think the math is off. I think they have an algorithm built in that you can never just like dominate the other show. I think they try to keep it parallel, even if your matches are like vastly superior to your competition.
I was only ever
I wouldn't
30
be surprised.
I was only ever 40,000 fans above my competition at any given time.
Yeah.
And I was putting on bangers and they were like, "Oh, everything's mediocre." And I'm just like, "Cool, instant classics, like 3 of them." And nothing. Like, it's just like, okay.
I know.
Did you see kind of the same thing?
It's like rubber
Yeah.
like rubber banding
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
they
yeah,
kinda-
definitely rubber banding. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's better than it was back in the day because you'd always start out amazing and then you get fucking demolished.
Yeah.
on like the
Okay. Yeah.
2006, 2007. It drove me nuts, and I think the math is off because, like, again, they would be putting on 1v1 matches. I'd be doing Hell in a Cells, and they'd be winning.
What was the
Yeah, that
I have
doesn't make any sense.
I do have a question. What was the longest GM like shows run that you did?
The second tier was it 25?
Well, there was a 5-week, which is just 1-to-1 pay-per-view.
Oh, no.
There's a 10, which is 2 pay-per-views, and then I think there's a 15 and a 25.
I think I did a 15 and a 25.
I did a 15, and towards the end, I was like down by like 30,000 fans, and then the last pay-per-view, they had 3 mediocre, and I like won everything, and I did the pretty much begging for fans booking for all 3 people, and I just beat them. I was like, "Fuck yeah, fuck you, Stephanie."
Sounds like Harry had it on point, but then again, you're a numbers guy, so
I don't know, but it's like if you want to have that mode, like the numbers should reflect your
Right,
style.
yes.
Yes.
And like that's how you get better. It shouldn't just be a given one way or
Yeah.
another. Or like if you suck and you're just losing by a little bit, like where's the learning
They,
curve?
I feel like they hide the rubber banding too because they hit you with like 40 numbers at the end of the show.
They
And
do.
they're like, "Oh, here's a."
There's a lot of
It's
shit
just
that
like
throws
it's
at
a
ya.
bill of lading for the entire show.
Yeah.
Cost per wrestler, which shouldn't be a thing because you're dealing with contracts separately and stuff like that. It's really some dumb shit.
But I think it's like that's what I like in the
The
micromanaging
sim,
Yeah.
the sim
Yeah.
version of WWE. Yeah, I like that stuff too. I thought that was fun. Like my GM mode was great. Did any of you guys play Universe at all? Because I did Universe almost primarily.
I was very confused. I hope you can
I
explain
hated it, honestly.
When I got into it, so they just the screen itself.
Yes.
It could cause seizures. I guarantee. Like you're unlocking shit. There's shit popping up on the bottom. There's fucking glowing shit. Like
Right.
it was a lot to take in.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just going to say, at least for Universe, I did not know that was like an actual game mode. I just thought that's where you went to buy shit. And
It seemed like
I
the
did not
micro.
know universe.
It seemed like the microtransaction universe.
It is.
yeah, I mean,
That's the impression I got.
I'm just saying that's what I like. I open it up and it's like, oh, you can get this pack, you can get this battle pack. Da da
Okay.
da. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go back to the wrestling stuff.
Yes, it's where all the online stuff is. It's where all the shops are.
Yeah.
That's it. That also that's where like the faction is, like the My Faction, which is like a card-based game online.
Okay.
That you play. And
Playing
that's-
Gwent over here.
No, you're actually like doing wrestling matches and stuff, but like it's like card-based like MUT, like Madden
So
Ultimate
like
Team, where you're
me
like
and
trying to
Harry's
get, like-
Wednesdays, we're just wrestling each other.
So anyway, universe mode is where you can actually just play the entire schedule as they have it currently. So they have an entire year
So
calendar.
live
Well,
live-ish.
Well, it's like that's where you can find, okay, here's Raw's active roster, here's SmackDown's active roster, here's NXT's active roster.
Like current day?
Yes, and here's
Okay.
where all the pay-per-views are. And you can just
Okay.
start skipping weeks and playing and you know, like finding matches in there. So, but it's full customization. So, I will tell you how I play this game, and it's primarily in universe.
Okay.
I created my own show, made a complete roster of all of my favorite wrestlers, deleted out NXT from existence completely.
Did you get to name your show?
Yeah, it was ECW, and I used all the
Get to-
ECW branding. So I had fucking Tommy Dreamer as my champion for like an entire year, and he fought in a triple threat match with everybody at WrestleMania because you can customize down to the match.
So, Tommy Dreamer
Dreamer had
versus
all of the-
Sabu versus Rob Van Dam.
Yeah. Oh, well, so
Okay. No,
hold on.
I'm just nerding out over here. I'm getting excited.
You can take your show and add them to the pay-per-views so that naturally, as you're creating rivalries and stuff like that in your show, they start appearing on the pay-per-views. So you can just go to a generated pay-per-view and you can see what kind of is going on with Raw and SmackDown. And then it would just be like, oh, here's like the important stuff that's happening with yours as shown on a pay-per-view. And like, Tommy Dreamer's like headline and stuff. Like it was awesome. Like I had all of the legends. I pretty much had the entire like 96 Raw era roster. Like
Yeah.
Rock, Stone Cold, DX, NWO. Like I had like everybody
Some crazy
out there.
data mining going on.
Yeah, some like really crazy fucking and like all the ECW originals. And like I had like
That's awesome.
everybody in this, and like that is like where I focused most of my attention in this game, and that's where I've been doing it ever since they created the mode. So to me, that is like the purest nostalgia driven part of this game, and it's something that they give you the tools to create yourself. And
dig
I think that is what is the biggest pro of this game. I understand there's flaws. I understand that like there's weak controls and there's, you know, like all of that stuff, but like man, that like the universe where like I made this like dream ECW thing, and then like I built out I downloaded the ECW arena and then tweaked it to make it like just perfect. Like there's a filter to have the 1999 mist.
So like
the
grungy ass fucking
like
Philadelphia.
Like yeah, dude, like the light just like grunge
Right,
under
yeah.
the LCD lights and stuff
It's
like
so
that.
seedy.
Like it's just a nice little filter. It makes everything look like it was on TV when I was a kid. Like you see it in Showcase when you're playing Showcase, like the match with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. You know how it kind of has that like dim kind of like the original WCW lighting, where it's not as like crisp and bright and lasery.
Okay.
It has like this like kind of like dimmed out like
I can't say I specifically remember
like-
that, but
it's almost like watching it on a CRT TV, where
Okay.
it's like it just has this like fuzz. This
It's
just,
grainy.
just very
Yeah.
light fuzz to it.
yeah, it's a
that
little dirty.
Doesn't yeah like and like so I had that for all of my matches when I was playing in that. So like anytime I played a match in my arena, it was that. Like it was just it took me back to all that stuff, and I think that is where this game absolutely fucking kills it.
Gotcha.
It was just fucking cool. And like you can kind of like set up your own rivalries, you can set up your own tags, you can set up your own, everything. Like
Right.
for me to like just get nerdy and like be able to just like create all of this stuff and like you can pick all your belt systems and your divisions and have all of those people in it. Like that shit to me is like really what these games are about. Like fuck everything else. Like fuck all the other modes. Like I buy these games for that mode specifically.
Gotcha. Well, we know Harry's all in with GM mode.
And GM
for the
mode,
most part, but
GM mode was fantastic. I had a blast playing it. I played like 3 or 4 of the GM modes myself. And
Nice.
It was awesome.
They have made vast improvements since the old GM mode.
Yeah,
Nice. All right, yeah, because I was more curious, like, how would you really like compare the two? I would hope that there would be some sort of improvement.
There's an evolution to it. I'd actually be really curious to see what they do next year when they're like, okay, we have our proof of concept that like the game actually works, because this is a brand new engine too.
What would make it more fun? I don't know if it was an option, but actually playing versus another player on GM mode.
I'm not 100% sure if you can do that.
Instead of against the computer, because that would be really, really
Gotcha.
cool.
Now, I would imagine it's like, are you able to like wrestle other people? Like, I didn't delve in. Did anybody delve into like
2-player?
Yeah, or like online?
Yeah,
like,
you can do all of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. There's local multiplayer and online multiplayer.
All right.
I didn't
That's
delve
good to
into
know.
it, but I knew it was there. And when I was messing around with my faction, I wrestled somebody else.
Gotcha.
One thing I did want to bring up about like the customization aspect. So the one thing I'm going to argue is not great with the customization is seeking out some of these creative wrestlers. I know we briefly talked about this before.
Yeah.
You cannot just type in what you want to search. There's tags. You have
Yes.
to choose a tag.
Oh, really?
So like
Hashtag
So
Heart
here's the thing. Here's the
Foundation.
thing. When you're trying to find one specific person, it can suck trying to use the tags. But for me, when I was like making my ECW thing, I was like, oh, hashtag ECW, and it just had everybody.
Gotcha.
Like, so it's like one of those things. If you're trying to like find Mr. Kennedy, I had that same struggle where it's like, oh, there's 6.
he
Kennedy.
was my favorite. That man was awesome.
Kennedy.
What network is he on these days?
I don't think he
Nothing.
wrestles anymore.
I think he just retired from wrestling.
Damn it. Anyway, I think that. So I didn't know 90% of this roster. It might even be a higher percentage.
It seems about right.
I wanted to do a customization of the roster, like just like fine tune, like how I do, like I've described hockey games where I delete an entire team,
Make your
and
friends.
then put all your friends on the team.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to do that just with the people that I knew.
Stone Cold Steve Smith.
Now here's another issue with the creative characters. They're
Need to shave my head.
They're all modeled off of an existing wrestler.
Yeah.
If you don't have them unlocked, you cannot download that creator wrestler.
Really?
Well,
oh,
there's like, so basically, I looked into it a little bit more after we talked about it, and I figured out like what's going on. All right, so like say someone created the Boogeyman. You know who I'm talking about from
The
like
guy that lives under your bed.
no, like from SmackDown in like when you were watching it, the Boogeyman, the dude that like would always like
Oh wow, I forgot about that guy.
yeah. So
that
so
existed.
he was one person that I wanted to have on the on my roster, and they were like, you don't have you don't have the character unlocked to be able to download him. And I was like, okay,
you don't have the access.
that's weird. And I was like looking, and I was like, okay, so why is this? And they were like, it can be down to a move. So like if there's a DLC character or a character that is like locked behind the coins that you get through Universe and through GM mode and all that shit to unlock the legends, like say this person created their character, but they used Undertaker's boots, and you don't have Undertaker unlocked, you can't download him because you don't have that unlocked.
That's fucking stupid.
It's real dumb. It's real dumb.
Undertaker's the only one I did unlock, honestly.
You just need to pull out Papa Janko, and you're good to go. It's basically the Boogeyman.
Yeah. But yeah, like so like there's like annoying shit like that with that. But all in all, it's
I
not.
was concerned. Can you earn enough points to download everybody for free, or do they expect you to put money into it?
No, you can.
Okay.
You can earn. I mean, Universe is an infinite way to earn coin.
You just might have to earn a lot longer than others, but
No,
you're
basically,
not.
if you can get a 3-star or 4-star match, you can get 500 coins from it. So you could do it in like 5 or 6. If you played
Well,
5 or
each-
6 full nights,
Each
of, like-
wrestler was 1,000 coins.
I know.
It's
It's a lot.
that seems like a steep.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because
All right.
they either want you to grind for it or fucking pay for it, and more so, pay for it.
Yeah,
so
they
what
want
do you mean
people
by 500? So if I earned coins, I have no idea how many I earned. So you said 500 coins out of a night. What do you mean by that?
500 coins out of a match in a night, and there's like so okay, in universe mode you can have however many matches in a show. I always did the max, which was 10, so I would schedule 10 matches
10
every
matches
night
for a show.
Yes.
Okay.
In a show you can earn 5,000 to 6,000 coins
Total.
total.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could play 10 matches and unlock 6 characters. I don't think that's terrible returns, personally.
Okay. Do you actually have to play these matches, or can you just auto-play them out?
You have to play them.
Okay.
Does it matter what the outcome is?
Nope. Well, it does, because you get coins based on the rating of the match.
Okay.
Okay. So
But
it
here's
has
the
to
thing,
be a good
I
match.
I liked playing
to-
the game. So, like, for me, it was no big
'Kay.
deal. Like, I was like, okay, everything's going to be an Extreme Rules match. That's like an instant 3-star, like, pretty much. And then, like, you know, I'm going to put somebody through a table. I'm going to jump off of a ladder, and I'm going to hit him with a steel chair. That's the 4th star.
Okay.
And then it's just, you know, hit him with a finisher, hit him with a signature. It's 4.5 stars, 5 stars. I'm getting 600 to 700 coins.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Just so I don't forget to mention it. Did anybody see how weird the AI were with like TLC matches, just setting up tables and fucking ladders?
Yeah.
Just like
randomly all
off
over the
on the
place.
side. It's like, I'm going to put this in the corner. It's like, that serves no purpose. But okay,
Yeah.
good for you, bud.
Yeah,
That-
they ended up putting a table in every single corner of the ring.
That's
Wait,
awesome.
really?
And then you just
Oh,
get
God.
sacrificed to him. You just
No, that's when you have to pick them up and power bomb them through every single table.
Yeah.
to
So I
prove a
wasn't very
point.
good. Like I was the one getting power bombed and shit.
Oh.
This was a lot of button mashing and trying to learn certain combinations.
I mean, I think that's getting in some gameplay there.
We are in gameplay.
Yeah, we're in
yeah, we're still there.
We're still in gameplay.
A lot of button mashing.
All right. Does anyone have anything else that they want to get into gameplay? Let's light a table on fire and get into graphics.
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 I will say, stunning Steve Smith looked amazing in his outfit. That was I appreciated my first and last name were there. I could put stunning as a prefix. My day was made.
Triple S.
What are we talking about? Because this is graphics?
Yes, we're in graphics.
Yeah,
Talking about your created.
He's talking about his creative character.
my creative
Oh,
I
character.
couldn't figure out how to get a beard on my guy, so he was just fucking bald. Cancer patient.
I had like full like
The menu was kind of
Beard.
wonky, but I figured it out.
goatee, everything that I had to do a goatee and a beard at the same time to make this. But
he was so pale,
Man,
and so hairless.
I mean, if you play them like enough, like you're kind of used to the format, but like
I don't know.
was
Well,
some
you would think
menu
it was in
things-
head, and I was like all over the head.
Nope.
I couldn't.
It wasn't.
No, it's an appearance. It's not in body, it's an appearance.
Well, right, but hair was in head.
You just said it wasn't.
No. Beards and other facial items were not. Those were under appearance, but regular hair was under head. That was fucking stupid to me.
But was that hard to figure out? None?
What are you talking about?
The fact you have no hair.
No, I'm just saying.
No,
Harry
I
was
figured
like,
that out.
Find,
I couldn't find the beard.
Right, because
So
it
he
wasn't
was just a
with
beardless,
all
bald,
the other hair.
hairless
Oh.
man.
It was
Oh.
weird.
It was slightly on the purple side.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
my guy.
what
did not
happens
look
what
great.
happens. I mean, the rest of the stuff. I mean, graphically, I mean, the characters or people looked on point, for the most part.
I mean,
I can't give it like a standing endorsement. It was okay.
Yeah, like I thought the arenas were all right. I did like and appreciate the filters, as I had just talked about, but like the idea that you can kind of change how you're filtering the light to change the era of like what you're in. I thought that was really awesome. The character models look real good, but the creative characters, as usual, always stand out from the polished characters. I don't know if there's just a way that you can just like add a filter to just be like, okay, so here's normal wrestler, and just make my creative character wet, and then he will look like
they do that.
Gotta play with it a little
it's
bit.
the oil. It's the oil. It's something
Yeah.
like, where's the oil filter for the
fucking
creative
lube me
character?
up.
That's
Yeah,
true.
lube
They
them up.
do. They always look different.
They always
Like,
look shiny. Like they always look shiny, and like the creative characters never look shiny, and it's just this weird.
I will
Kind
say,
of.
speaking of the creative characters, I didn't download a ton of them, but like, do you see like how cool some people went with like the Batman and Joker?
Oh,
like,
there's some insane ones that look like movie quality Batman and movie quality Joker.
I don't know. The Batman
Good
really
for them.
stood out to me. Just
I saw like Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and like they're classics that like I've seen them in the creative characters as long as they've been around. But like,
oh, there's Donald Trump.
yeah, like there's people
Could be the biggest
that-
wrestler,
that
which
make,
fair.
like-
he was
on
Oh, that is-
WWE at
in
one
wrestling.
point.
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say, at least like with my rise, when they interjected my character in, like when I saw my character cutting a promo, I'm like, I'm actually kind of impressed with this. I didn't have like a whole lot, I had like,
Graphically, or just the fact that they did it?
yes, all around.
all of it.
Because this was not something I experienced in other games, but at least like having him talk, which as like, I don't know if it was like a very cut and dry voice acting for all of my rise, but I was a very Caucasian man and not with so much of Caucasian speaking. Like there was a little bit of extra twang to it. And
They
that
have
was,
like three. They have like I think there's like three different voices. that you
don't
can
remember being able to choose that. Not that I really cared. I don't, because I'm like, oh, cool. I got a little extra to me. But it's like at least seeing the cut promos of my creative character or creative superstar, like talking into a mic, addressing a crowd, and kind of like being like within the action instead of just like a stiff nobody. And it's not like actually seeing that character talk. I was kind of impressed by that.
Yeah, they did spend a lot of time on animating a character that you really are only ever going to see like not talk and stuff like that. Like so,
yeah, that you spend an hour and a half fucking creating, because I forgot how long it takes to create a fucking superstar.
yeah.
But Jesus Christ, I don't care what my eyebrows look like. Really? But
I do. That's one of the things I always change. I never change like cheekbones or jawbones or anything.
But your
like that.
eyebrows?
Yeah, I'll change the eyebrows.
Okay.
It depends. I typically
Yeah, sure, bud.
I typically have like characters wear like either hats or they have like long dreads, and then they'll like look real stupid if they have dumb eyebrows. I just don't want my character to look like a fucking
you
clown.
cannot have shitty eyebrows. I get it.
So I'm gonna kind of disagree. Maybe not with the creative character, but like some of like the dialogue and talking and stuff like that was animated terribly. Because there was some times where it was literally just the mouth moving and like no cheek or eye or forehead movement as they were like talking, and it was just very like robotic. And I was like, this is fucking so phoned in. It's ridiculous. Like it was just, I couldn't take it seriously. And like in my opinion, some of the graphics were like good, but like not 2022.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like
maybe
okay,
like 6 years ago?
yeah, like 2016, I probably would have been like, okay, this is, understandable.
Acceptable?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But like now, like I was just like, nah, I'm good. I think as a whole, like, okay, yeah, sure, it looked good. It did the job, but like the only times that like it looked really good when there was when there was like a lot of shit going on the screen, and like you couldn't really focus on one thing because there was so much happening that it just drew your attention from one thing to the next. Because if you focused on one thing, it looked like trash.
Especially playing on PS5, I was disappointed. I feel like I would have gotten the same experience spending $10 less getting it for PS4 than I did for PS5. Load times, stupid.
Yeah, what the fuck?
On PS5,
I forgot to bring that up because the gameplay thing. But holy shit. Maybe it's graphics.
I mean, it's still. I mean, I have to look at the screen for it to load up. But I'm just saying, at least for like load time for PS5, it felt like I was still on the PS2. Loading. Like it felt like I was still playing like Raw versus SmackDown. Like the amount of loading time for this console is completely disappointing.
Yeah,
it's the entrances.
It's not though.
It's not even
back
just
to
that.
The gym was just as long as loading into a match.
Like it would go back and forth, and even it's not just the
Are you
entrances.
specifically talking about My Rise or the entire game?
Entire game,
the
was
whole
fucking
thing,
slow as shit, and there was constant loading.
It was bad.
I didn't have any issues because I was turning off entrances, and a match would load in like 10 seconds.
No, it wasn't just that though. Exiting matches and going to the gym. And, like, literally going to the gym, talking to Road Dogg, and then going to the next match. Like, loading to the gym was, like, a minute. Leaving the gym was, like, a minute. It didn't matter what I was doing. It took forever. It was awful.
It was disappointing.
I don't remember that standing out to me.
Skipping an entrance took loading. That was fucking stupid,
You had to hit X, it's like,
turn it off.
I know, but I'm just like, what fucking year is it? You know what I mean?
Where it's not just... Or
I shouldn't just have to go, okay, I'm just going to disable this. In my opinion, one of the cooler parts of the games. Like, I love entrances. Like, that was, like, the huge thing watching
they
it.
Get their custom music.
If I'm going to fucking...
Right. It's all about you by that point.
Anti-entrances.
I loved entrances. So, like, why?
Probably because it was designed for the PS4.
I mean, like...
there's only so much that a PS5 can do. You're playing the PS5 version, but it's not a version made for the PS5.
Yeah, that's
they
fair,
charge me more for it.
Exactly. I was going to say, charge me the same amount of fucking money for it then.
Yeah, for the PS5 version with the up-res graphics and all that other shit.
Hard to believe up-res graphics. Anyways, I think the loading time was terrible. I don't agree with the graphics. I think the graphics are like 6 years old.
Okay.
All right, let's our way into sound.
Audio.
Good old hacksaw Jim Duggan.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, the sound is like the sound. It's either clipped music or wrestling sounds, and I don't think they've changed.
No, I will say when you're in the My Rise training center, it's terrible.
Oh yeah, you just hear guys just wrestling the entire time.
Yeah,
just a bunch of dudes yelling at each other.
Let me touch your dick. At least like once you start getting into like the shows, there's some like background music or something else, or at least like background sound.
It's funny when you're at like a bar or in like a hotel or whatever, and it's just like the other ambient noises like around you too, and just like.
Okay. There was a couple of times like where it's like the fuck are you listening to? I'm like, I'm just in between storylines. There's just like it's just like random fucking background. It's like this makes no sense.
Yeah. It's like, is there somebody eating dinner at a table behind me right now? Because that's what it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. I would like a steak, please.
I did like some of the licensed music. I found like one band off of there that I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna check them out.
I always like the background music for these. It's like it kind of gets going, and then it's like, all right, let's go ahead and have some glitchy fucking suplexes. But the music's good.
Kenny Hoopla.
I was feeling kind of old because I didn't recognize any of it.
I didn't really enjoy any of it either.
I only like Kenny Hoopla, which is like that.
One of 4 songs, to be fair. They only had like 4 songs they fucking played.
In the menus, yeah, there was only like 4 or 5. Yeah,
That was kind of annoying. The funny part is like I was thinking about that before you said it, how like the menu music, and I was like, man, the menu was annoying because like it loaded into the same song all the time. But it's funny because like almost every other game does the exact same thing, but you enjoy it because like
it's ambient. It's not.
It's not like fucking in your face.
It's not a song that you can really have an opinion about because it's just ambient music.
It's not a
Yeah,
song that
yeah.
you're sitting there and listening to 15 to 30 seconds of while your fucking screen is loading to get into it.
And with lyrics and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was anything.
Yeah, I had no complaints about the sound effects at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't
the music
say not
catalog was
executed
not great.
well. I think it's just there's nothing extraordinary about it.
I guess I only say like not well executed for the fact that anytime I had a loading screen, it was like 3 songs total.
yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want number 1, 2, or 3?
So it's more a problem with the music direction than the actual.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
like hour 10, I turned it off.
Yeah, and that is a nice thing. You can.
I just turned the fucking music off, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm done hearing the same fucking music over and over and over again." Like especially with the loading screen where you
Get it.
You don't get the whole catalog throughout the entire game.
Right.
It's like no, for matches you get 8 songs. For the menu you get 4 songs. For like,
And if they would spread it out over everything, it'd be great.
yeah, it was fine because they had like 30 tracks or whatever.
Yeah, there's some good music in there, but it's just this is what you get when you load this screen, and that's it.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'd pick, I don't know, but this goes back to like, this goes back to like the over the top acting, like the voice acting is, I mean, it matches up with that. but
Yeah, it's
over
super
the-
campy. Like it's
It's okay sometimes, but then it can get on your nerves.
sure.
Other
Yeah,
times,
sure.
but- so that's it. That's all I got on audio.
Just be glad they didn't voice act all the fucking Twitter messages and stuff.
Oh
Jesus
god, that would
Christ,
be
I
awful.
would not be able to deal with
That would have
that.
been awful.
They made a decision that was good.
There's one.
All right, let's climb the ladder and reach for final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Steve, final thoughts.
I was hoping for more than what I got out of this game. Being the first wrestling game that I played in like 15 years, conservatively, I still had a lot of fun with it, but it just wasn't what I expected. And that made me kind of sad.
Joe?
I really want to enjoy these games. Like they seem like a lot of fun. The core mechanic of the actual gameplay is not good though. I like what they're doing as far as the types of modes and like the My Rise, the GM mode and all that stuff. But the core mechanic of actually playing a match just hasn't been fun almost ever for me. So not really enjoying it. They got to fix some things.
Harry?
Honestly, I'm not officially done with this game yet. I didn't want to do it for this, but like, because it's going to take a while, I kind of really want to customize the roster. I think I'll have a lot more fun with the game when I know everybody and really like tailor like that GM mode. And it's like, I don't know. I think I just want to go back to like 2006, 2007. That's
sounds
all I
like
really
it.
like. I don't know. That's
Sounds
what
like
I,
it'd be a little bit easier.
yeah.
Honestly, do a hashtag 2006, and you might find a bunch
yeah.
of characters with 2006. And then the annoying thing that you'll have to do is go into the create a characters and probably delete that out of their name. Or if you don't care about, Jericho 06 as the person's name.
Yeah, no, I might spend some more time and like really customizing and playing the game that way. Just because I just don't know anybody. Like, there's all
Are you
these-
going to continue to play GM mode?
Probably, but like I might do my universe thing and kind of create the show.
Do it,
Just
man.
like
It's so like that's when they stopped GM mode. That's when they started the universe mode, and they were like, "We don't have GM mode anymore, but like this is kind of it. It blends the two. There's less people in your face and more. It's fun. It's fun.
Sounds
and hit me
up
up
your
if
alley.
hit me up if you like need help with anything. I'll help you out.
Yeah, it just I just gotta, I don't know, explore a bit. I think this will be more of like a background slow burn than like a power through.
Dude,
But-
hell, I'll come over
but-
and just,
but-
play a few matches with you.
But as far as wrestling games go, I do think, despite all its problems, I do think this is the best probably wrestling game that I've played. It's they've built on the things that I did like about the earlier games, and they cleaned it up a bit. I know it's still a mess, but I do think it's cleaned up. So I think it's the best you can get for a wrestling game.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. That's fair.
My final thoughts are like, I've never played these games for like the showcase mode, like I was saying before. It's like that universe mode. It's like doing like back to when I started playing wrestling games like a ton was with Kevin Pierce, and we literally made our own show and had a whiteboard where we were moving characters up and down, creating pay-per-view events, because that's how you used to do it. I'll create a pay-per-view and you make all the matches and stuff. We would do that just over and over and over again, and we had our own roster, and we were like moving people up and down a fucking whiteboard, like old school shit. Like so being able to just literally do all of that in the game, in universe, like with the divisions and things like that, it's just awesome. Universe though is roughly the same concept that it's been. This game, on merit of being new and a new engine, I understand. I'm actually really excited to see what they're going to maybe do in a year or two with this engine as a base. I'm hoping for more hardcore matches, though. I missed some of the stuff that we started to see towards the end of the life cycle of the last engine, which was like double stacking tables. And you being able to throw somebody off of the top of a ladder to the outside of the ring, which isn't something you can do.
The ridiculous stuff.
Yes,
But
yes.
was doable in old games. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, like the super fringe ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
Like the double stack tables thing, I was really bummed out that you couldn't do it in this, because that was like one of my favorite ways to just finish a match. Like put somebody through a double stack table in the middle of the ring, fucking
Because
pin 'em.
why
They're
fucking
done.
not? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Fucking Joey Styles.
And so, like, that was always something to me that stuck out. And I hope to see that kind of stuff in the future. But I do enjoy this game. I'm going to continue playing it. I finally got an external hard drive for all of the PS4 games that I have on my PS5. So I got those switched over. And now I can actually have some freedom with what I have on my PS5. And this is probably going to be on there for a while.
Dig it.
All right, let's go into the hell in the cell that is the score.
The score.
All right, I will start with my score. I think this game is a great on sale game. Spending the $60-$70, unless you're diehard, it's not worth it. But on sale, I think it's totally worth it. It's a fun fucking game.
There you go. I'll go next. I'm going to give this like a C+. Fun wrestling game. It's the same shit you've been buying for the past 20 years.
Joe?
So I was struggling to where to rate this, and then I found another game that I felt very similar about. So I'm going to give this a 20%, which is exactly what I gave Bionic Commando. The nostalgia brought me to the game, made me want to play it, but everything about it was poorly executed.
Harry?
Look at it. He's internal struggle.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give it a 5.0 out of 10, which is going to tie with Super Mario 64 and Shovel Knights.
Join us in 2 weeks for the Nintendo 64, Mubbers.
Ooh.
2 weeks.
Get your hands ready, boys.
Stay
and
lovely.
ladies.
Stay sexy.
I love you guys.
Stay safe.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on social media and all streaming platforms at Superfun Podcast for more episodes. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend about us and consider becoming a Patreon member for more exclusive content.